Welcome back to the Caffeinated Classroom. I'm Marie, and cheers. It's just so good. So today we're talking about something where coffee is going to come in really handy. We are talking about how to balance. Well, this is going to be the first, I think, of a series, to be completely honest with you. But we're going to talk about balancing being a teacher and a mom, or a teacher and a dad, basically being a teacher-parent. Today, I'm going to focus a little bit more on a few tips to keeping your sanity when you're making the transition from maternity leave back into the classroom and like having to juggle the worlds of like being home and being mommy or daddy and being teacher in the classroom, because you already know, if you're watching this, I can guarantee you know how much energy it takes just to like get the day to happen in your classroom. That compounded by raising a tiny human or multiple humans at home can really take a toll on you. Like I said, I'm going to focus a little bit more on making the transition from being home to going back to work, and all of a sudden you're in this new role, you have this new life role, but then you're like also still in your old role as a teacher. I've done this transition twice. I have two kids. My oldest is a little over 4.5. He'll be 5 this summer, and so he'll be starting kindergarten next year. And then my youngest, my daughter, is she's like 20 months. I don't know, I lose track, because when you have baby number 2, you stop counting the months as well, because you have no short-term memory anymore. It's just gone with your sanity. Anyways, my daughter will be 2 this summer, so I will have a 5-year-old and a 2-year-old before I can even blink, I think. And they are totally crazy, but it's fun. They have a lot of energy, and the minute I get home from work, they are like on me, and they want mommy, and they want attention, and it's not in a bad way. It's not something that I can begrudge them, because they just love me. You know, I'm their mom. But it is exhausting. So here are a few tips on how to try and bridge that transition a little bit. Very first thing I will say is have a really solid idea of just a really solid plan in place of what your childcare is going to be. And then beyond that, have a really good plan B and maybe even a plan C, because, well, here's what happens with me. So in California and in my school district, I have to use my sick days as my maternity leave. So I get 6 weeks of paid maternity leave, but it comes out of my banked sick days. So I went back to school after my second baby with I want to say maybe 10 days left. And then all these crazy things started to happen. My son started preschool, so he would get sick, and then the baby would get sick, and then mommy would get sick because I wasn't sleeping, and I needed more help than just me. My husband and I are really, really lucky. We are both teachers, and we're both from San Diego, born and raised, so our parents both live in town. So that is our childcare. It's just like the best situation we could possibly have, and I know most people don't necessarily have this situation. So I would say make sure you know really, really well what your transportation plan is going to be to daycare or babysitter or whatever it is. Make sure you know exactly what you need to have packed. Make yourself a checklist for baby or for each kid for all of the things that they're going to need during the day. And then in the event that your babysitter or your nanny, or if my mom gets sick and my husband's parents are out of town, I need another plan, because you're not going to have enough sick days. And I had the very unfortunate experience last year of running through my sick days, and I didn't know it until months later because the system wasn't updated online. Our system didn't have the right count, and I didn't count them myself because I didn't think I needed to. So that was my own mistake. And I ended up having to pay a pretty good chunk of money. Oh, it was right when summer started. I had to pay a substantial amount of money back because those sick days finally got counted against me and then got deducted from my paycheck. It was horrible. If I had known, I would have made other arrangements. And so now, eyes wide open, I've gone into this with a much better plan B in place. The next thing I will say that has really saved me many, many, many times, and then when I don't do it has actually made me want to hurl myself off bridge, is meal plan. Meal plan and prep as much as you can. I know it seems like an extra chore, and it seems like when you've got a newborn, the last thing you want to do is think about like prepping for tomorrow's meals, or like 2 days from now, what are you going to have for breakfast and lunch? But once you get to 2 days from now and you've planned and prepped those meals, you're going to feel so much better, and you're not going to be a train wreck when you're trying to get out the door in the morning. I started doing this when my son was a baby. We really started meal planning well, and we would plan dinners. We just started out with dinners, plan out what the 5 dinners a week are going to be, prep a little bit, like chop veggies and do that kind of thing if you need to, maybe even pre-cook some of the meat if you're having something where you can do that. And then from there, I started to like prep lunches. That was like the life changer. Lunches being made ahead of time. Like I would make a few sandwiches and know I was going to have those on like Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And then on Tuesday and Thursday, we were going to make enough like dinner the night before so that we would have leftovers for lunch the next day. And it just, like the mornings were all of a sudden so much easier. Oh my gosh, it's just so much better. Meal prep and meal plan for yourself so that you don't have to think about it. You do it one time, write it down on a notepad, put it up on the refrigerator, you're done. And it's like, seriously, if there's one thing you take from this, it's meal plan. Lunches changed my life. Making breakfasts ahead of time though, like made the sky bluer. It like made colors brighter. Everything was so much better after we started prepping breakfast. Because think about it. You get up in the morning, and if you've got a newborn, you've been nursing multiple times at night, or even like me going back to work. Both of my babies were 6 weeks old when I went back to work, and that's pretty little. So they're still nursing at least 2, maybe 3 times a night. They're not sleeping through the night yet at 6 weeks, unless you have an angel baby, in which case just thank your lucky stars, because your next one's not going to be like that. You're exhausted. You want to try and make yourself like sort of look like the semblance of a human being. You want to put on clothes, but you're not necessarily back to your normal body yet. So like putting on clothes in the morning is kind of traumatic after having a baby. Don't worry, you'll get better. You're starving because you've been creating food and like giving food out to a human being all night long. And even if you're not nursing, if your baby's on formula, you're still up and moving, and your body requires fuel to be moving because you haven't rested the amount that your body requires. So you're starving hungry, and your kid is hungry again. And if you have a toddler already, like all of these things compound. You need to get yourself out the door. You need to get your kids out the door, or your baby out the door, so that you can get to work, because being a teacher, you don't have the luxury of being 3 minutes late to work, 4 minutes, 15 minutes late to work. The bell rings and children are waiting for you. Like, that's it. I had this conversation with one of my good friends when I had my first baby, and she was pregnant at the time. And she was like, well, can't you just be a few minutes late? Like, it's no big deal sometimes. And I'm like, well, no, because there's literally kids waiting outside of a locked classroom if I'm late. Like, I can't, it's not like a normal job where you can like text your boss and be like, hey, I'm on my way. I'll be right there once I drop off my baby. Like, I've shown up at school with a baby and then asked my mom to come and meet me there because I was such a mess, because I didn't eat, and like I didn't set myself up for success. And the best way to set yourself up for success is food. Everybody's going to need to eat. You're going to need to eat multiple times during the day. And if you're nursing, you're going to need to eat at least double, like truly, of the times that you're eating. And it's going to need to be good food. Just set yourself up well so that you don't feel like trash, and you don't fall asleep on yourself, and you're not crabby, and you know that your baby's being fed, and all of these things can just be taken care of. You don't have to think about it, and it just makes you feel so on top of it. It's just so much better. Another thing that really helped, and this is specifically for nursing moms. So I had a pretty easy time when it came to nursing both of my kids. I had an abundant supply of milk, so like that was fine. I had really good eaters, but I also got mastitis, which is an infection from getting plugged milk ducts, multiple times. I had it with my son twice, and I had it with my daughter like 3 times. And I didn't get mastitis until I went back to work, because I started pumping, and like my whole schedule changed, because I wasn't just going on baby's schedule for like whenever he or she whichever baby was ready to eat, I would have to go around when the bell rang and when I had, 20 minutes to be able to pump. What I can say about that is practice pumping early. Don't wait until like the week before you go back to work, because you're going to need to get your body used to it. Like pumping itself isn't that hard. It's kind of like a lot of stuff to carry around. But once you kind of like get the rigmarole all like hooked up and you're like ready to go, that's not that bad. You just get used to the system. But what is like horrible is your body has to get used to it. It's a different kind of suction than baby eating. So when I went back to work, specifically when I went back to work with my daughter, I had been home, obviously, with her for the first 6 weeks of her life, and I had to make the transition from feeding whenever she needed to, which was like roughly every, I think like 3 hours by that point she was nursing, and she was pretty efficient. Like bam, she got in there, she ate, she was done. So making that transition from that, where my body just naturally got used to her rhythm of eating, to all of a sudden pumping, having to do it with like certain amounts of blocks of time wherever the schedule would allow, like my body like rejected it. And I think it was, I had only been to work like 3 days, and early in the morning before my 4th day back at work, I woke up and I was the sickest I think I have ever been in my entire life. Like my whole body was shaking, and I had a fever. I had a really high fever, but I was so like delirious that I didn't recognize that. And my husband, I think, was like sleeping in the guest room because I had been nursing all night long, and he was back at work teaching too. So he needed to have like one of the adults in the house had to have our wits about us. So he was sleeping in the other room. My daughter was in like one of those little rock and play sleepers. These things are awesome if you don't know what they are. I'll tell you more about that in another video. And I woke up and like I was like convulsing because I had such a high fever, and I was delirious, and I was freezing cold. And all I remember other than that is this searing pain coming from my boob. And it was like somebody was just taking like a hot poker and just like jabbing it in there. But I like got myself up, walked over, yelled for my husband from the like hallway, and I was like, I can't pick up the baby. Long story short, I had really bad mastitis and ended up missing like 2 days of work. And it was all because my body wasn't like used to pumping yet. Okay? Cautionary tale. Get your body used to pumping. Even if it means that you're spending like your whole last, second to last week before you go back to school pumping and then nursing, and then pumping and then nursing, and then pumping and then nursing. I mean, you'll just be a milk truck, so like moo the dairies in town. At least you'll have like a bank of milk that you can put in your freezer for baby. And the other thing you'll have is your body will have time to get used to the different kinds of suction, to basically nursing on demand and like a different time, and you can kind of like shock yourself out of it. And hopefully you don't have, oh, that just spilled everywhere. Sorry. Hopefully you don't have the really nasty like situation that I had, and I ended up on antibiotics, and it just was crappy. It was awful, and it's really painful, and you can get like you can get hospitalized. You can get really sick from mastitis. So be careful. Take care of yourself. It hurts. The very last thing I can say, and this goes out to everybody, it's not always going to be this hard. It really won't. Especially when they are so little and you feel like you're in the classroom all day long and you're just giving your all to these kids, because that's what we do as teachers. We give, whether it's elementary, middle, high school, anything. You can't help it, right? That's why you go into the profession, is because you want to connect with children and you want to help them learn. So after a day of that, and then you go home, and the minute you see that kid, your whole being is like, boom, right to baby. And it's draining. Give yourself a break. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay to be really tired. It's okay to sit and watch TV. It's not always going to be like this. It will get easier, and you'll be amazed in 2 weeks when you look back and go, oh, I survived. Oh, it's so much easier. And then a month after that, you go, oh my gosh, like how did I do that? This is so much easier. And then 6 months after that, you look back and you go, wow, this is still really hard, but in completely new and different ways. And it's so much easier in all the ways that it was hard before. it changes. Babies change so fast. And when you're in it, it seems like time is standing still. And it seems like those papers are never going to get graded. And you know what? Sometimes they just don't get graded. That's okay. Sometimes you say, wow, kids, those paragraphs you wrote were so good. I sent them off to the governor. Yeah, you're not even going to get them back probably this school year. I needed the governor to read them. That's how good they were. Because you know what? Your baby puked all over them. That totally happened, but I'll never tell you what class it was. Yeah, my baby used to puke all over stuff. I had to stop like grading whenever it was my son. Whenever he was around, I had to like put everything up and away because he would like projectile. Sorry, this is super gross. Anyway, spit up is disgusting and you're going to smell like crusty old milk for a while. Cheers. I think I'm going to create a little series out of this. And in the next video, I'll probably talk a little bit more specifically about pumping at work, because I think that's something that like I could have used a lot of pointers and like helpful hints at. But if you have any more, like if you have any questions, if you have any things that you think would be helpful, if you are a teacher mom or a teacher dad and you're like, hey, Marie, you should really talk about this, will you please leave a comment below so that I can make a video about it? Because I would really like to be able to help other parents out there just like ease this transition into becoming a parent. It's hard. Being a teacher is just hard. Being a parent is hard. Being both is like really difficult, and it takes a village, and let's support each other. So yeah, good luck. I really, really hope that some of this is helpful for you. If you have any questions, like I said, please leave a comment below and let's connect on social media. I am on Instagram, on Facebook. I think I'm on Twitter. I don't really know. If you would like to make sure that you don't miss any videos, go ahead and hit that subscribe button right down below, and I will see you next time. Have a good one. Cheers.
Mama.
Yeah, Mama.
Yes.
Hey, what's that? Where are you going? You go, mwah.